On today's DNVR Nuggets podcast, the two-man game of Adam Matas and Brendan Vogt is going to talk about the two-man games of the Denver Nuggets. There's 13 I identified for us to talk about.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. We're also going to talk about the 8 things Russell Westbrook can bring to the Nuggets, 8 basketball things. And then Jamal Murray got a tattoo, all that and more on the DNVR Nuggets podcast. The chat noticing that this was yesterday's headline. We never got to it.
No, that's not like us.
That isn't like us at all. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNBA show. AKA the DNVR Nuggets podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code DNVR365 whenever you sign up. Choose your offer and find out whatever the moment is. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Also, we're not in the Toyota Lounge today.
Oh, man.
But you are in the Toyota chat, so you can hop in the chat and talk to us. Vote. We didn't do a show yesterday.
No, we didn't. And I have a lot of energy today, man, because I went full Colorado last night.
Tell us about it. He has not stopped talking about it, but it is a cool story.
I went to see Anderson .Paak at Red Rocks.
That's a great sentence.
My fake girlfriend had not been before, so we went together.
Oh, did you bring photos of you guys there?
I'm only in. It's just me and them.
Yeah,
I only took selfies.
Yeah.
She's got videos.
She's just right off.
Just out in frame, having the time of her life. It was great. We got there really early, like the true maniacs do, and we like tailgated.
Yeah.
We set up in the lot.
Dude, it's the best, especially this time of year when you get the Western Scrub Jays.
Perfect. It is October, but I wanted to call it a late September night at Red Rocks. Perfect.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. You were vibing last night. You know who else was vibing?
Who's that?
The Denver Nuggets.
They seem like they're having fun.
Dude, they're in Abu Dhabi right now. We haven't done a show since they've landed. We joked that they were going to ride a camel. They actually are.
Every single one of them.
Every single person has ridden a camel. All the equipment manager, everybody got on a camel and went for this nice little sunset. I've never wanted to do this. Seeing the pictures and stuff, I'm like, I kind of want to go on a little desert camel ride.
I was thinking the same thing. I was also thinking, like, what a sweet exhibition deal. Training camp deal to get. You're with the Nuggets and you just get to go to Abu Dhabi. Russell Westbrook is hanging out with you. You're on a camel. Like, I'm just saying, it's probably not the same if you're like same deal for the Wizards.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not as excited.
It might not be. Maybe it's more exciting. It's like the basketball part. We don't need to worry about that. We just go out. They honestly, like, there's been a lot of people curating social content and stuff from out there. It looks, honest to God, Michael Malone said he was looking forward to the trip because it's a team bonding thing. By the way, our own DLLS, shouts to Mark Stein, had a one-on-one exclusive with Jason Kidd that was really neat. And I watched the whole thing. He also talked about, they're in Vegas, and he talked about, I love when we get away from Dallas for this. So I think it's a universal thing that coaches like to get away. But the Nuggets got far away, and they honestly does seem like, I know we're only like looking at this through social media posts. It looks like they really are bonding and like an awesome bonding trip.
It's not a stretch. Like, you don't have to be a professional athlete. First of all, if you traveled with any team at any level of sports, it was good for you. But also just friends, podcast co-hosts.
It's the same thing.
You become a different. There's another layer to it once you travel together. That's just the way it goes. And I've always thought about the vibe of a field trip day back in school where everyone's guard is kind of down. Like, when you're back on your turf, everyone feels like they have this role to play, right? And when you're kind of like away from that, I think there's more organic kind of moments pop up. People's guards are down. This is true of covering a team on the road, by the way, in my opinion. But this is really, really cool. And like it's very, very fun to watch these guys just go and have fun, because there's been a lot of talk about pressure. It is their job, but this whole Jokic journey started with watching these guys play with joy. And so it's fun. You want to see the team be together, feel close together. It's why we like them as much as we do.
My daughter went on a field trip to Dinosaur Ridge the other day. I've never been, actually. I was signed up to go, but then Duran Holmes, came on the show, so I had to like swap. My wife went. The bus driver pulled over 3 lanes on the highway to pull to the side to yell at the kids. I remember thinking, like, so much more dangerous than whatever the kids were doing.
Way worse. My
wife was like flabbergasted. She's like, this was the craziest thing.
Were there chaperones?
Sit on the side of I-25.
That's crazy.
Anyway, so bus drivers have not changed in the 30 years since I've been in high school, or elementary school for that matter. Also going on in the desert, though, of Abu Dhabi, Jamal Murray has a new look. Do we have the video? Do we have a photo? What do we have here, Alyssa? I don't even know.
I've got the video.
All right, we got a video of him. He has a new look, a new tattoo.
No, maybe I'll get a real one at some point, but not right now. It's just a trial and error type of thing, you know what I'm saying? Just gotta get the mind used to it and see what we come up with. I just like the clean slate, you know. I've been clean slate for so long. I think it's unique. Not a lot of people are, you know, tattoo lists, so I want to keep it that way. I think probably get like a bow and arrow going into my championship ring. That's what I get.
That's a good idea.
It's a good idea. It's a fake though. That's your headline. It is
That's your headline. Yeah,
it's a henna tattoo.
Yeah.
But I love a good zag for no reason at all. I just do. So I can't explain this. I mean, I have tattoos. I love Jamal Murray saying like, I just like that I'm one of the only guys that isn't.
Well, it's him and Jokic. You know, like, is this the greatest tattoo-less duo?
Oh, that's so true.
In NBA history.
Right?
Does Stockton and Malone have tattoos?
Man,
they didn't win anything. Get them off of this list.
A lot of people need tattoos to fall back on because they don't actually have aura. And that's what's happening is that Jamal and Jokic have aura.
Yeah,
Wait a second.
There you go. I think it actually is pretty cool. And it'll be weird seeing him with a tattoo for like 2 weeks and then it'll go away.
Sure.
Did henna tattoos all come off at once, or is he going to have a half washed off tattoo?
That's a great question. The full sleeve for a henna is bold. But
another piece of news here, and this one actually comes out of the Indiana Pacers, or actually I should just say out of Rick Carlisle, where he was on a pod the other day and talked about the physicality changing in the NBA. Do we have a clip for this one?
Yes.
It's a massive fight in the NBA now. It's become a hard play league. As I mentioned, it's going to be much more physical this year. Games are going to look a lot more like FIBA than the old freedom of movement NBA, and so we've got to be ready for that.
Rick Carlisle with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Listen, I was going to ask you about Benedict Mathurin, and then I thought I might follow up with some Turner conversation, but I want to go to where you just ended. You think it's going to be more physical, more of what we see in the FIBA style. Why do you think that's going to be the case? As the NBA puts something out officiating-wise, why do you think that's the case?
Well, we sat in the head coaches meeting 3 weeks ago, and they told us it was going to be that way. And
fair enough. There you go.
And showed us video of it. And we're very matter of fact about it, and so that's where things are. And look, the reasons. I mean, I can think of some obvious reasons. Too many teams were just marching to the free throw line, one after the other. Games were getting long and arduous. People want to see continuous action. And I'm in favor of it. I mean, okay. I'm in favor of a more physical game. Why not?
So they had the coaches meeting 3 weeks ago and told them. So this is not even speculation.
Right.
They told them that the league is going to be more physical this year, and he specifically said more like the FIBA game, where it was, extremely noticeable how much contact was allowed. Guys like your boy Tatum, kind of looking at the refs a lot, like, are you serious? I don't get a call on this little hip check I gave him. So I look at this and I go, man, every year there's these rule changes, and are they real or are they not? I kind of think this might be real. I'm not saying it's going to be a dramatic difference, but I do think the NBA was a little embarrassed last year when everybody scored 60 points in the same week.
And then they made this shadow switch, we can call it, which we know really happened, and the product was instantly better, and everyone talked about it on local shows, on national shows. And there were some hangups on some nitpicking done about certain FIBA rules, but this dynamic people loved, right? It was a good moment for international basketball in that, at least on my timeline, my real life conversations, people loved that part of it. Where if you just fouls happen, man, but when you're just the whole strategy was to go get one.
Well, it's that the league they called it so soft that there became an incentive to try to draw them artificially, and it's like if you just say we're not allowing that. You remember the play that Embiid tried to get Jokic with, where he had a wide open layup, but instead did this, and Jokic might have fouled him by the letter of the rule, but everyone within a split second could determine that wasn't a good faith attempt. That is, I hope, what he means by more physicality of when guys are trying to do obvious BS.
Yes,
they won't get away with it.
If there's a foul because good real basketball happened and fouls happen. But just and I mean, look, it's we could at risk of belaboring the point because everyone agrees. no one really wants to watch free throws. There's so much talent in the NBA. There's so much good basketball to watch. It is a slog to watch guys resort to reduce themselves to BS because they're all better players than that.
Right. So I think it's great. And I honestly, here's the thing. Not only is it great because that's how I like basketball. I'm a big man. I don't like these little guys always complaining about the contact, this or that. Get physical. But more importantly, man, this is so good for the Nuggets.
You think so?
I really do. I mean, number one, Jokic, he's a bear. He just wants to wrestle. Like that lends itself to him. He already plays through contact. I think it works. Aaron Gordon, same thing. He doesn't want you to call ticky-tack fouls. He wants it to be mano-a-mano because he's going to win that against all but like 4 players at his position. I think it works. Even Dario Saric, who's not necessarily quick, like, okay, physicality, that tilts in his favor. And I don't know that it necessarily hurts anything about it. Christian Braun's another guy that I think like he's so good on the perimeter, but I'm worried about him with maybe quicker guards. But if you can get a little bit more handsy, a little more physical, that helps him. The only guy that I think it might not be great for is Michael Porter, who's always struggled with physicality. But the truth is, the ball's not in his hands. I don't think this is more physicality off ball.
Well, I will just say I also maybe a bit for Jamal as well, where in like the perimeter guy, there's just was a difference officiating crew to officiating crew on what the Wolves were able to do and thus tried to do against Jamal. And I don't know. I mean, maybe some of them were just flat out fouls, but I think traditionally Jamal has struggled when those like longer defenders are able to get really physical.
So here's what's funny about that, because I agree with you. And Anthony Edwards was number one, right? Like he's not just long, he's also really physical, strong, athletic, everything else. And I think that's a unique challenge. I mean, shouts to Anthony Edwards. He's one of the best physical specimens in the NBA and a phenomenal on-ball defender. Murray, to me, has struggled with physicality in his career when he's not been in shape. And we all know the injury last year, maybe not in peak shape by the time playoffs rolled around because of it. I think that Murray does have an ability to play through that. He's a big guard himself. And so I think he can be a lot better at playing through physicality. I try to think back to the championship run. I don't think Phoenix was particularly physical. I don't think the Lakers were. I mean, they are inside, but not outside. They're still putting smaller guys on him. And even if you go to the Miami Heat, who are traditionally a pretty physical team at the guard spots, I mean, Jimmy Butler can be physical, and he did a good, decent job of that. I think he's better. I think he's better than what he showed last year. I think last year has poisoned our mind, rightfully so, a little bit, because we saw what he looks like at his worst.
Right. And to bring it all back, when he's healthy, Jamal does have something in common with Jokic and the rest of the Nuggets here, which is their game is not built on any foundation of foul hunting at all. I mean, Murray is we've overused it, but he's a very ethical point guard. He's, of course, got the 50-50, right, with no free throws, but it's also just like going and getting it, like mid-range, back down. You were physical. The defense was good. I hit the shot anyway. Mentality-wise, it's good for Denver in that I think teams like the Lakers, players like Joel Embiid, can struggle in the playoffs because when the going gets tough, they try that. and for 82 games, that was rewarded. And so it's built into their strategy. It's their mindset, their strategy. The Nuggets have none of that. Jokic is used to not getting calls. So from a mentality standpoint, I think this is good for them.
Yeah, I do too. I think it'll work. And then you look at the teams that maybe it hurts. Oklahoma City, I think you could probably say Dallas maybe to a certain extent. They're a team that spreads things out, likes to get a lot of those types of fouls. Just your dribble drive teams that get fouls. The Knicks, but the Knicks kind of play a bully ball anyway, so it might work for them.
Yeah.
I think those are the teams. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, let's get into some of these duos and what they're going to look like. Are they different than they were last year, or the new duos? Who stands to gain the most? What will it look like, and how will it impact the team?
You want to know an elite duo?
Yeah.
Denver Nuggets basketball and
us.
No, good guess though. Miller Lite.
Nah,
Miller Lite is awesome, and Miller Lite has always been awesome. That's kind of their thing. A lot's changed over the years. One thing that hasn't, the great taste of Miller Lite, because they haven't changed how they make Miller Lite, because why would they? It's the first light beer. Many have tried, all have failed to emulate the great and light taste of Miller Lite. More of the stuff you want, less of the stuff you don't. It's that simple, man. Undebatable quality, great taste, only 96 calories. I have officially reached an age where if I drink one beer, I get one beer fatter. It is a 1-to-1, and it happens instantly. So shout out Miller Lite, the original light beer since 1975. Our good friends, and of course, always pairs well with Nuggets basketball. Times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/DNVR, or you can find it wherever you guys know about Miller Lite. Like any beer store or liquor store will sell it. Literally anyone. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces.
There you go. We back?
Oh, no, we're not. That was one read. You scared me. You tricked me.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. And Bet365. It's never ordinary at Bet365 unless you mean me pulling it up to bet while watching a game live. That's pretty ordinary. They are the pioneers.
We bet on tomorrow's game.
They're the pioneers of live betting. I'm sure that we can.
Let's find out. Shall we?
Why not? Why not? Not an ordinary game happening in Abu Dhabi. Right up Bet365. Bet365's lane, because whatever the moment is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. They don't believe in ordinary. They do believe in throwing you some sweet offers, like the NBA early payout offer. It's actually the basketball.
Nuggets are underdogs tomorrow.
Underdogs.
3-point underdogs.
We're back in our Fraud City era, brother. This is the way it should be. Whether it's NBA or college basketball, you could place a bet on a team to win. And if they go up by 20 points and go on to lose the game, you can still win your bet, which is pretty neat. And then here's the big thing. Keep your eyes peeled for DNVR custom bets. We have custom boosts as well. So we put these together as a company. Bets we do feel good about. Of course, never guaranteed. That's the betting game. But bets we like, and you can play along with us. It's really fun. Keep your eyes peeled for the Nux mascot. You know Nux. If you see him up there, you're seeing a DNVR custom bet. Ride with us. And again, Bet365, download it, use code DNVR365 to sign up. You have to be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, we are back. Segment 2, DNVR Nuggets podcast, presented by Bet365. Let's talk about duos. We're going to go through the whole list. We're going to start with Jokic and Murray. We don't need to spend a lot of time with this because, you know what? It's a pretty well-established duo.
It is.
I will say this. At Media Day, Jokic was asked about Murray signing his extension. He called him his partner in crime. Threw a lot of love and weight behind him. One of my best Nuggets feelings of all time was Jokic and Murray's celebration together after the championship, because it was like, you know what? This is a team. It's all of these things, but the duo is really going to be the lasting part of this. And after last year, a little tumultuous, weird offseason, it was cool for Jokic to go out of his way, to kind of throw support to, yeah, that's my partner.
That's the guy that should do it, right? A lot of people are throwing some criticism at Murray, and he's earned a lot of it. You know, it makes all the sense in the world for his co-star, the best player on the team, the best player in the world, to come out and have his back, because while we've outlined what Murray has not done, Murray has also done more for Jokic than any teammate he's had in the NBA.
Yeah.
They have shouldered most of the pressure, certainly most of the responsibility, and they are the core. The two-man game is the core of what Denver does together. So us being down on Murray, all part of it, right? All part of the game. But Jokic and Murray, they won that title together. That's forever. That's history. They're the first duo to do it together in Denver, and that's always going to be the case no matter what happens.
You know what, though? There's another piece to this for me, and that is, I think there is a chance Murray is no longer deployed the way he has been in previous years as the bench carrier. I think there's a real chance that this year he actually spends a larger percentage of his minutes with Jokic. And I think that's one difference. As you look at it and you go, okay, you have Russell Westbrook now. He can be the anchor of that unit. You don't necessarily need to send Jamal. Maybe I'm not saying for sure. I just think there's a world where that happens and other players stagger. And if that's the case, we all know this. When you play with Jokic, you just score more. Yeah. You score at a better rate. You do this. Even he, 3.5 points per 100 possessions more with Jokic than without, and 8 percentage points better in effective field goal percentage with Jokic than without. If you just up that a little bit, reduce the minutes that he plays without Jokic, up the minutes he plays, that already is maybe in line for a 1 point per game and higher efficiency increase. So that's one difference for me that I see is I wouldn't be surprised if we actually got a higher dose of Jokic and Murray this year.
I think that's a really good note. And then there's like a question for me that flows from that, which is, should they change up what it looks like when they play together in the regular season? As in, are they just looking for each other for 4 quarters? Is there a concerted effort to maybe they do a pretty good job of this, but is there more of a concerted effort to kind of make sure the offense is less predictable and that they're not just grinding themselves into the sand
The grinding into the sand part, I'm maybe less concerned about, but there is a thing of the two-man game comes easy to them. And there is a natural temptation to just be like, let's just go to it again. And you're like, it's a fourth quarter offense, but what if it was a first, second, and third quarter offense too? Yeah. And you're right that over time, it's like, but you want to get the ball popping. You just want everybody involved in a way. And that maybe is a challenge if Murray is spending more time with Jokic this year than previous years. Jokic and Aaron Gordon are the next duo I want to spend. So we're going to run through some of the established ones because I want to get to some of the new ones. Jokic and Aaron Gordon, the opposite could be true. They play an enormous amount of minutes together. What if they start playing fewer amount of minutes together? Would that have an impact on them? Aaron Gordon last year, 2,000 minutes with Jokic, 300 without, so almost all of them.
Gordon's a very, very capable player. I don't think he needs to be chained to Jokic. Yeah. But goodness, of course, you would see a drop-off in Aaron Gordon's efficiency, let fewer minutes with Jokic.
You would think.
I would just, across a large enough sample size.
10% effective field goal percentage bump playing with Jokic. Yeah. That being said, higher usage and more scoring without. So
right. Oh, that's a good point. But I think Jokic makes AG's life easier than any teammate he's ever played with. I mean, that's true of Jokic and everyone. Yeah. But it's for almost anyone else, you would go, it's weird that this guy's at the 4 with Porter on the floor. What is that doing to the spacing? But Jokic is so incredible that this not just works, they excel in it. So again, I think Gordon can be used in other ways if they need to. I do think they might play fewer minutes together this year, but the truth is getting the very best out of Aaron Gordon is putting him next to Jokic, of course.
Do you see anything different about, like how that operates? I mean, Aaron Gordon has gotten better every year. I do look at the three-point shooting. You look at the spacing and think, okay, is he going to be harder for him? Then does he take more threes? That duo has sneakily gotten better every single year.
Yeah.
And our default is just to be like, it's going to be the same. I do wonder if it'll be better or worse, and if so, in what ways?
Well, I mean, I think Wind, you'll see our player preview series will roll out soon enough, and Wind's been all over this, but just maybe the half-court offense looking different altogether, right? So it's not just 3 guys maybe standing still, and then because the spacing's great, and then two-man game does what it does. I mean, maybe there's just more movement, more off-ball movement. It's so vague for me to say, but just more cutting and stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll be different that way.
Let's go now to one of the new ones that I think is just most intriguing, and that's Russell Westbrook and Jamal Murray. And I just said I think Murray plays more with Jokic than without. This might actually be a trio, a Russ Murray Jokic trio of some sort. But let's just say Russ and Murray together. This might be the most interesting duo that we have here. I mean, I could make an argument for Russ and Jokic as well. But Russ and Murray, what are the dynamics at play here? And how does it affect Murray and when he's been off ball in the past?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, you would just start sensibly. If you were crafting a possession, the ball would be in Russ's hands, right?
I think so.
He's not an off-ball guy at this stage, and he can cut, right? But as far as like a 2-guard off Murray, it just doesn't seem to make a ton of sense. That being said, Murray's best with the ball in his hands. He has not typically thrived in this off-ball role. So whichever way the rotation shakes out, there's probably somewhere around 8 to 10 minutes that Russ and Murray are on the floor together. What does that look like? That to me is going to be maybe bumpy. I don't think that's going to be like they hit the ground running. They're going to have to figure that out. And it's one of the things that I have my eyes on, like how much should Russ and Murray play together? I'm not sure.
Here's what I think, because I agree with the first part of this. Russ should be on ball, I think, quite a bit. I mean, both guys should be on ball, but I'm just saying Murray's going to have to figure out who he is when Russ has the ball in his hands. And I think that comes down to conditioning once again, because playing off ball is a lot about focus, but it's also a lot about getting open. Like if you're going to cut through the paint with the expectation that you cut through and then exit out the other side to get to the 3-point line, there has to be an expectation that someone's going to get you the ball. If that's Reggie Jackson, do you have that anticipation? Maybe not. Russell Westbrook's really good at getting into the paint and kicking out. It's one of his top skills. We'll get to it later. Murray will be rewarded from hard cuts and movement off ball when he's playing alongside Russ. The question is, will he be committed to doing it?
Right.
James Harden could have made the same case last year with the Clippers, but he doesn't like to do that. And I hope Jamal Murray is not James Harden in that regard.
And Russell Westbrook is not Bones Highland or Reggie Jackson. So is he more willing, to your point? Right. I do think there was a little, like when it was Bones, Jamal, when he was off ball, he would go stand in the corner and just be like, this thing's not coming back to me.
But I think that's I blame both sides of that, though.
Okay.
Because
All right.
I think there is a little bit of it's Bones, it's Michael Porter. Like, these aren't guys that are rewarding all the hard work. But I think there's also something, too. You don't get open when you do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you almost diminish your own odds. And I think there was a little bit of that with Murray over the last 2 seasons of, like, he likes being on ball, doesn't like being off. So when he's off, it's like, well, I'm going to give it half-court effort. And by the way, Russell Westbrook, I would say this of, too. Russell Westbrook can be a better off-ball player next to Murray, which is the other half of the equation.
The funny thing about Jamal is when the health is there and the effort's there, he's like a lot better at all these little things than you might think, right? He's not just a tough shot maker. He can be a great post defender. He can be a good rebounder. He can. So I think you're right. The key to these guys playing together is Murray's buy-in to being an off-ball threat, in my opinion.
Defensively, how does it look, that duo? Who guards? I mean, you have to assume Westbrook's guarding the other team's best backcourt player.
Based off Malone's media day comments, sure.
But I even just think naturally, I mean, one, if you had to wear out one or the other, you would wear out Westbrook at this stage because he's going to play fewer minutes.
Yes.
And then two, I just think aptitude-wise, it's more likely going to be him than Jamal most of the time.
I strongly agree with this.
How does that affect Westbrook, I wonder? I mean, he was deployed a little bit like this last year with the Clippers, especially late in the season.
I mean, look, man, Russ is not here to be the best player in June. So if it's grind yourself a little bit in the regular season, eat some innings. I know he's 35, but that's part of it. That's part of his job.
It would be interesting. Like, LeBron did this a little bit late in his career where he'd like started to become more and more defensive of a player. You know, like he's evolved his game a little bit. He had a run there from like 2020 to 2022 or so where the defense was kind of impressive at its peak. Even guarding Jokic in the finals or in the Western Conference Finals, that was him putting everything into the defensive end. And you're like, oh, that's right. LeBron is also one of the best defenders in the NBA when he focuses his energy there.
He just gets tired now.
He just gets tired.
Different,
he maybe can't do it all, but if you need him to go guard Jokic for a half, like he can actually do it as well as just about anyone.
God, he was incredible at his peak. It's really insane.
But I wonder if Westbrook, it's like every player, there's a scale of energy, right? What percentage of your energy do you direct towards offense, to defense, to transition? I just wonder if the scale, when he shares the court with Jamal, I wonder if that scale tilts more to the defensive end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. That might be wishful thinking, but I think that would be a lovely result, right? If that's how it plays out. Yeah. I mean, look, this is the time where Russ's quotes sound great, where the team is saying great stuff about him. But it's still, like, there are just still going to be possessions where we're like, dude, why did you just slam the gas pedal? You know, like he's still just going to take the ball and go sometimes.
But you know, the take the ball and go part, we'll get to this a little bit later when what he brings to the table, so I don't even want to pull on it too deep, but Murray plays slow.
Yeah.
Westbrook plays fast. It could be as simple as now Murray, you're not reliant on Murray to be fast. He can be the trail guy.
Right.
Westbrook, push it. You got 8 seconds.
Yes.
Nothing happened. Now kick it to Jamal, and we're in our half-court offense.
I saw that in the scrimmage because they were on the same team, and it was kind of like Russ's possession, then Jamal's possession, and that was the biggest difference. Was every time Russ got a chance to go, he wants to go.
He is like it is like, I'm trying to think of what kind of animal it's like. It is like a leopard or something where like it's the movement, like he gets the ball and it's like just nonstop. It's not fifth gear to first gear to third to fifth. It's like fifth to 4.5 to fifth again to 4.5. Everything is at the top level speed wise. It's kind of wild.
So true.
We're going to talk more about that dynamic here when we get to the rest segment. Strawther and Šarić. I think this is another interesting duo, and it's not one I really came in thinking about a whole lot, but we have seen some comments about how important that duo is going to be for the second unit. I'm going to go as far as say this. Strawther's success largely depends on his chemistry with, Strawther depends on his chemistry with Šarić.
Is that because you don't think Šarić is going to, Strawther's necessarily going to get himself open, get his own buckets?
Well, I don't think he's a great get himself open guy on ball anyway. It is going to be a lot of like working off ball, but more than anything, like Westbrook with the second unit probably eats up a lot of possessions, and I think that's natural, right? Strawther in the corner, that's how you play off of Westbrook for the most part. But when the ball goes to their secondary facilitator, which is going to be Šarić, that is a lot of just two-man game. How do you there's things within Denver's continuity offense, like setting flare screens and slipping to the baskets. Peyton Watson's very good at this. Michael Porter's very good at this. Christian Braun, to a lesser extent, is good at this. Strawther, to me, can be great at that with Šarić. They're almost like rip screens, which if you followed a lot of my work breaking down some of the Nuggets playbooks, a shooter setting a back screen for somebody. It's almost like a lob, drags your defender off for a second to cover for you, and then you release into the handoff off of, in this case, Šarić. How good he can get at those, and Denver runs a lot of rip action for him. How good he gets it off of those is going to be one of the things that's most important for his two-man game with Šarić. So for me, that duo, I don't know how much we're going to talk about it as a duo, but I actually think it is a duo that is going to determine Denver's bench effectiveness.
Šarić to me is like his linchpin, the word I'm looking for the half court stuff.
Fulcrum, maybe.
Fulcrum is probably the better one. I mean, like I can picture some of these guys thriving in transition and stuff, but in the half court, I think like him being a smart player that you could either do dribble handoffs or just cut off of while he has the ball. I think is the key to have any semblance of an offense that even remotely resembles what you like to run, because the Nuggets are not going to have any time to like install something. They don't practice enough. Everything's about what it's like when Jokic is on the floor. So a young player figuring something out with a savvy player with a penchant for playmaking, with a clever player in Šarić, it could be a really interesting dynamic for the Nuggets. And Šarić is their best bet at the half court, looking well oiled, I think.
The one thing about Šarić is saying Šarić now, as we are forced to do by our crowd, I feel like Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. Oh, yeah. Šarić. You're right, actually. Yep. Šarić. I'm never going to unhear that.
That's all. Every time I say it, that's how I feel. Let's do Westbrook and Jokic next after the break.
Oh, Aiden, I'm sorry. We're not going to stop doing the air horn. We're just too deep in. You might even be right objectively. It's just, I'm not going to turn around and stop now. Okay. You know what would have been awesome is if I had the presence of mind before going out last night to make my first drink, Z-Biotics. I like to use this game-changing product before a night out with drinks. It's like pre-alcohol, right? As I mentioned earlier, I am getting older, Adam. You have watched me age from a charming, staggeringly handsome young man into a weathered, bitter old fool. And when I drink, I feel terrible, unless I made my first drink. Z-Biotics, the world's first genetically engineered probiotic invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I just don't want to sacrifice a day. I don't want to sacrifice the next day because I decided to have some fun. I want to be able to be productive if I have to be. Shoot, I might even be here doing a show with my boss. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and I wondered what it was actually like. Now that I've tried it, I believe the hype. With their GMO technology, they will release different products that help address toxic byproducts of modern living in the gut. Go to zbiotics.com/DNVR Nuggets to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use DNVR Nuggets at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Boom.
I'm going to ask in the chat, which duo are you most interesting in? I thought you had more one read, so I was going into the chat for it.
We do have one more read. I don't know what's going on with me, bro.
That's what I thought, man.
No, you're right. It's on me, dude. This is.
You got it, man.
It's my first time doing a show.
All right, chat. Let us know in the chat real quick. Which duo are you most interested in? We'll make sure we talk about it.
Another real organic segue read. Last night when I went to that show, I got those tickets using Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get the best tickets at the last second for the best price. It's almost like a dating app. I should probably drop that one since I went there with my girlfriend. But someone sold us a ticket at the last second. They were like, I can't go to the show. And I was like, I really want to go to the show. Match made in heaven.
That is.
Great seat, great price. Red Rocks is awesome. General admission, of course, at Red Rocks. But when you're shopping with Game Time, you know you're going to get a great deal. And when you use the Game Time Picks filter, you know that you're looking at the best deals. You don't have to stress the shop and compare web of ticket buying. Do it all at Game Time and do it all with the Game Time Picks filter, baby. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it, Adam?
Game time.
That's right, buddy.
All right, welcome back. DNVR Nuggets, a show presented by Bet365. Let's get into it now. Westbrook and Jokic. This is the other candidate for most interesting duo. The more I get into this, the more I think it's going to be incredible. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you a number here, and I put this on Twitter, but I didn't talk about it. Getting the ball to the short roller is one of his great skills. When you look at, on second spectrum, what are called cut floaters, which would be like a guy's driving to the rim and then goes up for the layup, nope, drops it off to the trailer. Like, Jokic is the greatest shooter in the history of the game at that. All respect to current bigs like Ivica Zubac, who's also very good at it. Nobody comes close to the volume that Jokic gets those and makes those. It's his favorite shot. Westbrook's just really good at that. And I think that part of it, in addition to just you can track blow-bys, you can track how many times does your foot, with the ball in its hand, step into the paint. Westbrook does it at a higher rate than anybody the Nuggets have or have had. And while there are concerns about his shot selection and some other things, I just think Jokic in particular is going to feast on that. And the more I think about it, we're almost in preseason to watch these games and see if it is actually true, but I actually think this is going to be a real duo, like a real weapon. Reggie and Jokic wasn't a duo.
No.
That was just a guy that was an innings eater while Murray rested. I think Westbrook-Jokic might be like, all right, now we're going to a new punch.
And it's just giving Russ a true partner. Like, it's not that the best player's gravity is like directly involved in helping him make a play and not just either I'm in the corner or you're in the corner. The getting into the paint thing is huge, and he doesn't finish super well in the paint. You know who's actually one of the world's best garbage men on the offensive glass as a big? When a point guard just sucks in the defense. And now I know he doesn't do it quite to the extent as he did when he was an MVP caliber player in terms of threatening the defense. But you give Russ the shot. The truth is, when he starts driving, people react. And if he is missing layups, at least he got Jokic. The little last-second drop-off stuff, Barton was actually good at that. And, man, Westbrook is, even at age 35, quicker and more dangerous. So I think there's a chance they play really, really well together. Almost maybe like two players in history have not gotten better playing with Jokic. It's like Facu and Moutier. So, yes, man, this should be a duo. I believe that this can work, and it's one of the things I'm excited to see most, even in the preseason.
You know what other connection I think they can have? Touchdown passes.
Oh, this is so
Jokic
good.
is third in the NBA in touchdown. If I define touchdown passes by assists for 50 or more feet, Luka's number one. I think Tyrese Halliburton barely number two, and Jokic right there number three, which is impressive because those guys are point guards. They get the ball thrown to him every time. If Jokic doesn't get the rebound, somebody else gets the outlet. So in some ways, it's even more impressive. But Westbrook, that first speed, like it's a different type of speed. You know, transition. The play just ended. Sprint up the court. I think Westbrook could be a guy that is like, you know, they're side by side at half court. Jokic sees that and go, oh, side by side. Russell get him by 3 steps by the time this pass arrives. I would just love if that was a nice little Jokic to Westbrook connection.
I couldn't agree more. Just the quick full court stuff Jokic does, but also the quick inbounds. Christian Braun has gotten really good at that.
Sneak, get going.
Just kind of
walk, sneak, then run, then sprint.
Dude, it is the easiest thing in the world to picture Westbrook feasting in that way a couple of times. So
I wonder who will catch the most touchdown passes this year.
I also think, could this be very fun in terms of we are watching a player who probably has displayed his emotion on his sleeve as much as anyone we've ever seen in Russell Westbrook. And I'm just really excited for that first time he tries to get Jokic all pumped up and ballery. He's got a big smile on his face.
Man, I would love to see more of that from Jokic.
Is like, oh, it's fine. It's a small moment. But Russ is like, no, we're loving this, man.
Yeah.
Like, we love you, and they love you. And I don't know. Like,
we've seen more of that from Jokic, though, as years have gone by.
100%.
Like, he's doing more screens.
100%. But it's more, all right, if Jamal Murray hits a big shot where you can see Jokic. But I want one of those moments with Russ and Jokic.
With Jokic.
And it just would... And that would
be...
the
Jokic strut, though. You know the Jokic strut is the version of this. It's almost cooler.
Yes, yeah, where he doesn't look like he's doing it.
Game 5, he had like 5 or 6 all-time Joker struts. In that fourth quarter, when he was putting them away and one, and the ball goes through the net, and he kind of just like walks like...
Yeah. It's like
get him going.
He's not looking in the camera, but he knows the camera's there.
But he knows the camera's there. I mean? That's exactly.
Totally, dude. This could be great.
What about Westbrook and Šarić? This is another one that I think is supremely consequential. I don't know about this one as much. It largely has to do with, I just think, if we ask who has to adjust their game the most, I think it's Šarić. And because I don't know that Westbrook is going to mold his game around Dario's skill set.
Right. And you could say this about Jokic, but Jokic is Jokic, so it's different. Just two completely different speeds.
Yeah.
Almost 2 different games that those two guys are playing at times. So I wonder how much that will clash. I also, when we run through these, for the first time, really, or maybe more so, I should say, than the last 3 years, I am just not sure how often any of these duos will play together. Like,
I think they'll play a lot.
I think so too. I'm just trying to I'm just very interested at when Jamal Murray is on the floor, when Russell Westbrook's on the floor, and who is spending more time with Šarić and Jokic.
Not that I want to see a ton of DeAndre Jordan this year, but you do wonder if Russ is one of those guys. His whole career, you have usually a rim roller. Does he like the rim roller? A lot of point guards do. Just play above the rim so I can throw it up to you. And Dario's never going to be that. But one thing Dario is, he's a wide body, man. He might be as wide as Jokic in the hips. You know, just like a wide-framed guy, big, thick legs. When he sets ball screens, I think there's a good chance you're going to develop a lot of switches. And to me, that's how that lineup makes sense in the half court. Can you get a switch in the first 8 seconds when those two are on the court and you're not able to play in transition? And if the answer is yes, Dario is phenomenal at punishing people in the post when he has a size mismatch. Russ is phenomenal at being quick, around big lumbering guys. So to me, that is what that two-man game has to look like. Can you generate switches early in the possession and take advantage of those? I think they'll take advantage of them, but can you generate them early? And I think they will, those two.
And so far in scrimmages and training camp and preseason, Russell Westbrook looks very willing to cut.
Yeah.
Will he be, right, in the NBA season? Or will it be like Šarić has the ball, I'm going to stand behind the three-point line and wait? Did you see the clip from the Abu Dhabi practice?
Yeah.
Cut hard to the rim, man. This is a guy that can make plays. So we'll see if those dynamics manifest as well.
It's Christian Braun and Jokic. This is a duo we're all very excited to kind of see. This is one I just think is going to be phenomenal. He's great at the flare, screen, and roll and dive. The only question I have, and this is getting kind of nerdish here, the Nuggets' end-of-game offense featured a lot of guard-to-guard rub screens to get the weaker defender on Murray. So KCP sets a screen for Murray, then Murray runs pick and roll. And the reason you're able to get away with that is teams have to switch. I mean, most teams just default to switch, especially in the regular season. But in the playoffs, you won't switch that if you don't have to. And KCP releases and goes to the three-point line. You throw it to him, and he gets a quick three off. CB is going to have to find his own version of punishing teams if they try not to switch that guard-to-guard action. And Michael Malone will have to get smart about that. But as far as the other parts of cutting and everything off, I actually think this is going to be like Aaron Gordon, where there is a really defined two-man game. And it's not necessarily pick and roll. It's just Jokic always finds him on this type of cut.
Please remember, they got to this unbelievable place with two elite corner shooters and everything they had going on in the middle, Gordon in the dunker spot, right? But remember, there was a time where the guys in the corners would just cut behind the defense if Jokic was high post, right? I think of Gary Harris first and foremost. I know Christian Braun is not on the level of 17, 18 Gary Harris, whatever it was, but he can cut. Teams will forget about Christian Braun occasionally throughout an 82-game season. They just will. And if they're falling asleep on you in the corner, you don't have to wait for the pass playing with Jokic. Go make one. So cut hard. It is cutting hard and a strong commitment to offensive rebounding are my biggest hopes for Christian and what he can provide as opposed to what he doesn't bring that KCP did.
Another duo, and we're not going to spend any time on it, but MPJ and AG, sneaky good connection on and off the field or off the court. I think that there is something there to where can Denver's offense get more dynamic. AG seems to have a good sense of where Michael Porter is. I believe Michael Porter has a 71% effective field goal percentage on passes coming from Aaron Gordon, which is insane.
Awesome.
But I think what that really indicates is that AG is a good connector pass, and connector passes oftentimes lead to the most wide open shots.
Yes.
But more importantly, AG is just loves passing to him.
He does. And I think in transition too, and I've asked them about this and they've both spoken on it. It's not like a small trend that's just happening.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon looks for Michael Porter Jr. on the floor. I like when it happens in transition. And they're two big bodies too. It's very, very, very hard to match up with both of them at the same time. And have Jokic on the floor. So I love that he looks for him. It is a trend we noticed last year, along with Jamal Murray looking for Porter more and more. Again, sometimes the conversation with can Porter get more involved becomes, well, can he? What kind of player can he be? He can't do this with the ball in his hands.
Just look for him.
Just pass it to him a couple more times a game. And I like that Gordon does this. This is a real connection.
The last one I want to spend time on today is Michael Porter Jr. and Russell Westbrook. And here's another one, as it kind of helps us transition into the Westbrook conversation here. The one thing that Westbrook has done well for his entire career and remains good at doing is getting into the paint and kicking up to the wide open shooter. This is such a valuable skill set. And Westbrook is among the best. He is 9th in effective field goal percentage on passes out of the paint, and he generates more 3-point shots than even Jamal Murray from passes out of the paint. So he gets to the paint and he kicks it out to guys who take and make 3-pointers at a higher rate than Murray, despite the fact that he only played about 22 minutes last year. Murray's playing 32 minutes, so 10-minute difference. He still got more. And then guys shoot well. Like it would be one thing if he's getting all of those because he's handing grenades to people.
Sure.
9th in effective field goal percentage on passes out of the paint. He sets the table well. Now, some of this, as you noted, there's noise in data. You can pass it to wide open guys all season long. They miss it. Like, I think Nurkic ranked number 1. Well, guess who he's passing to when he's kicking out of the paint?
Yeah, no
Kevin
kidding.
Durant, Devin Booker,
Not
Bradley
bad.
Beal.
Yeah.
Like, so some of this is a lot of this is very, very context dependent. And the Clippers had some shooters last year, had a lot of players he could play with. Nonetheless, his whole career comes down to if you're a 3-point shooter, Russ is good at drawing your defender into the paint because it's like, all right, that's the pressure point on the defense. I'm so quick. Get there. Boom. Open. I think a Westbrook-Michael Porter Jr. connection is going to happen. And I think it would be one of the good storylines of this year if it were to happen.
With Porter at the 4, too. Yes. I love this. It is a big hope. I think everyone's on the same page about this one. I also think Russ will love this if he starts doing it. Like, he's talked a lot about wanting to make other guys better.
There's nothing better as a passer and playmaker than a guy that knocks down a shot every time he's open.
I cut and that guy's in the corner again.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this, man. So I think this is real. And the stat. Bless you, Alyssa. Thank you. You're doing a great job today, by the way. The stat you mentioned earlier. I've been talking about this on this show for a month ad nauseum. This is a fit in this way. Yeah. People go, Denver needs more threes and they signed Russ. Well, yeah, you don't want Russ to take them.
Right.
But Russ can still generate them. And it feels like it's been 2 full seasons since Denver had someone who just drove into the paint and kicked it out. So, I mean, maybe Bruce a little, but even that. So, again, Vekislav is all over it. They needed another ball handler. Russ can still do this. And not just can still do this. This is one thing Russ still does at a very high level. How willing is he to just do that, right? Over and over and over again. He and Porter can benefit from this greatly.
Can you bring up the graphic I have? This is second spectrum data, pass assists from the paint. This is the entire NBA. And this is not just for threes. When you do this only for threes, Russ actually pops up even higher on the list. But this is for drop-offs and everything else. Sabonis is number 1. If we sort this by passes leading to a shot, he's number 1. And some of this is Sacramento, unlike Denver, they want to take threes. Like, those guys have a quick trigger on shots coming out. It doesn't even matter if you're open. Giannis, who's like a super Westbrook, right? Yep. He gets into the paint and finds open guys. Shea, who lives in the paint, collapses the paint. And then Jokic. And look at Jokic's effective field goal percentage when he kicks out, 63.4%, the highest on this list. So he's not just generating looks, he's generating A-plus looks. Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic, Fred VanVleet, Jimmy Butler, Malik Monk, Pascal Siakam, DeJounte Murray, Kobe White, and then Russell Westbrook. Just kind of an interesting list. I mean, 13th, when you look at that, that tells you who lives in the paint, what facilitators live in the paint. That's really what you're asking here. And that list is impressive for him to be on.
Most surprised by Malik Monk, by the way.
But it's Sacramento.
Right. You're right. Yep.
All of these numbers have context, but they're just like, if you're getting them, they have to have something that's like, if a pass comes to you from the paint, up your scale of what's appropriate to shoot.
Well, I mean, Russ then could now be a beneficiary the same way those guys were, like playing in Denver, I think, where more so than previous stops. He can do this.
Yeah.
So he has options. I know they don't generate a lot of threes, but like they have a lot of weapons. So
other duos we might get to later on, not today. Šarić and Aaron Gordon. Šarić and Cancar, Šarić and DJ, and Šarić and Jokic. So if that's basically the Šarić at power forward options or alongside another power forward option, and I think it's interesting. But I wanted to earmark at least 10 minutes. Oh, wait, we have another break?
We do.
We do have a break. On the other side, I want to go through Westbrook's top 8 skills that he's bringing to the Denver Nuggets.
I'm going to see if I can list the top 8 things that Toyota brings to Coloradans. Trucks.
Oh, can I tell you something, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I hijack that real quick?
Yeah, of course, please do, because I did not have
I didn't have anything past number 1.
Yep.
I saw Tacoma yesterday as I was driving home that was red with black trim and a black writing. It looked like Jordan 9s.
Oh, that's really cool.
It looked really, really sleek. So if you
Could
get a
it have been,
Toyota
Jordan?
Tacoma, it could have been. Get red on black. That's like an incredible combo.
If you're a red on black kind of person, Toyota's got options for you. If you're a truck kind of person, Toyota's got option for you. If you're an all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive kind of person, they've got options for you. I'm not even done. If you're a low or zero emission vehicle person, they've got more options for you combined than any other automaker. Toyota is about options.
Jordan 13s, I got them wrong. The 13s are the ones I'm thinking of.
Toyota
Google
is,
them. That's what this Tacoma looked like.
Toyota is about options. Toyota is Colorado. It's just a good fit, man. So Coloradans, do yourself a favor. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial. Corwin Toyota in Boulder. Groove Toyota in Littleton. Mountain States Toyota in Denver. Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora. And Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR. No, Adam, we're not done. There is one more. I'm getting better. I'm getting better at this. PMCU, baby, Premier Members Credit Union knows that it's getting more and more difficult to save money right now. That's why you need to make smart money moves like joining Premier Members Credit Union. Unlike big banks, PMCU is truly invested in its members and its communities. Financial institution based right here in Colorado, whatever your goals are. They can help. This means local branches, friendly tellers, the tools you need to save smarter, like the reverse tier money market. Check out Premier Members Credit Union Reverse Tier Money Market. It's a game changer for your finances and your life. So why not see what they can do for you? Check out becomepremier.com or the link in our show notes to learn more.
All right, we are back. Final segment, and I want to go over now 8 things I think Russell Westbrook brings to the Denver Nuggets. Number 1, we've gone over it the most, leadership and energy. We don't need to spend much time on it, but I honestly think if you are ranking these things, it's number 1. We're already seeing the impact, and it's not because it's his most important skill. It's because it's the skill he brings that is most important to this version of the Nuggets. They just had a vacancy of it,
That's it.
especially coming off last year, and that's why, to me, it has been such a focus. Edge, attitude, toughness, all of those things I think he's bringing. Number 2, I think number 2, most important. Again, I put these in priority, but the truth is they're all kind of close. Number 2, I think, is just getting into the paint.
Yep.
I mentioned it, 13 and passes out of the paint for a shot. That was the graphic we saw. He's really good at generating those types of looks, even on low volume. And the Nuggets just don't have guys that can get into the paint. He is one that can get to it at will, and I think it will be a shocking change in just the Nuggets. It'll be like, wow, Nuggets in the paint again, forcing rotations. The ball gets popping when defense has to suck in, get out. That's where the ball gets popping.
Oh, man, I would love to see it. I would really love to see it.
I think this one's close to a lock.
I think so,
Decision
too.
making out of it, I don't know, but getting there.
Getting into the paint, yeah. I'm trying to, as you were detailing that, I was trying to think in my head the short list of guys who have even done this the best in the Jokic era in Denver.
Bones Highland, like it's one of the skills he had,
Yeah,
but he was
yeah.
so young and not necessarily great, everywhere there, but he was good at it. Ish Smith, but again, not a guy that was making a huge impact.
Facu, but that's because everyone was letting him, so it's not the same.
That's true.
It's not the same thing. I still love Facu. I'm sorry, but yes, this is to me. It's the number 1 way in which this is a fit, and it's not like a stretch. This is actually a very real, tangible thing that he will make them better at.
I would bet that Murray, there's some metrics you could find that show that Murray did this really well in the Phoenix, Lakers, and Heat series, and probably increasingly so.
I'm sure.
And it's like, yeah, that's part of why the Nuggets look so good in those, is because the defense is constantly collapsed, and then Jokic and company knows what to do once it is.
And when he was hurt, I'm sure he did it at the least. So
Against that's part of Minnesota. Like, yeah, they were never in the paint.
you just couldn't do it. And against those physical defenders, and Minnesota still has those, right? Like the matchup has changed for Jokic a lot,
Yeah.
and for Denver a lot, but they still need that element. So this is where Russ comes into play.
Number 3, passing and playmaking for 3. So passing for 3-pointers. We just spent some time on it, so we don't have to go too long. But when we worry about 3-point shooting, do they have enough guys? Well, you're going to generate, I think, really good looks between Jokic, Murray, and Russell Westbrook this year. And so at the very least, I would not be surprised if Denver was a little higher in that 3-point percentage standings just by virtue of their getting better looks than most teams, and he'll be a part of that. Number 4, playing faster and in transition. This one's crazy.
Faster note.
Alyssa, can you bring up our other one? Average time to cross half court.
This is Adam's corner.
This is my favorite one, and I finally have a visual for you guys here if you're watching on YouTube. The Denver Nuggets' Reggie Jackson was the slowest player to cross half court last year on an average of 6.65 seconds. On average.
What was he doing?
Walking the ball up the court. Number 2 is Jalen Brunson, who makes sense. He has the ball in his... First of all, if you look at chances, he has twice as many as even Jamal Murray and Reggie Jackson because he always... So it makes sense. He's tired. He has to do everything. They're full court pressuring him to try to wear him down.
He's a methodical player.
Number 3 is Jamal Murray. Number 1 and number 3 were the Denver Nuggets' point guards last year in slowest time to cross half court at 6.5 seconds. And really, Murray is tied with Brunson. He could actually be number 2.
Guys, just so you know at home, if you're snake drafting things that grind Adam's gears, this is the first pick overall.
And then if you talk about time to first action, 9.3 for Reggie, 9.12. The Nuggets just take forever to get into their offense.
It's so true. And they just do.
They
always have.
Takes forever to get cross half court. Then you're across half court. Take another 3 seconds to get into the offense.
I remember you tried to get Malone to comment on this, and the best you got was just that he didn't care.
He
just
didn't.
didn't care because again, that's a Jokic luxury. Like, what the fuck do I care? We score every time. But
this is the 2-punch approach.
Yeah.
This is the Westbrook, get the ball across half court quick, throw it to Jamal, and now you can still get into your offense with 9 seconds left on the clock, just like last time. The only difference is you at least put pressure on the defense to sprint back as opposed to walk back or kind of.
Or who knows? You may be able to try another action.
Maybe you can actually get more things in. So I think that now Westbrook was more league average than he was fast, which is kind of interesting. He does also like to walk the ball up after makes, off of misses. He loves to run it.
Right.
So we'll see how much. It's not like he's the fastest guy in the NBA.
But it's different.
And more importantly, I think this is more of a team initiative. I think if Malone doesn't care about it, do you think he's telling Murray and Reggie to run it up more? And if you don't tell players to get up the half court fast, guess what? They'll go slow.
They're happy to do it.
So I actually think Malone is the bottleneck on this one.
Okay.
Nonetheless, Westbrook, maybe just by the virtue of he's been in the league for 17 years, he can play fast on his own without anybody telling him to.
Do you think that this helps the bench? Just playing faster in general? Do you think this is a good approach for the bench?
What's funny is it's not even about playing fast. The Spurs of 2014 are the all-time GOATs at this, in my opinion. Maybe the 7 seconds or 7 Suns. You sprint the ball up the court for one reason only. It's because then the defense has to sprint back to get set. And you create cross matches, or you just wear guys out that we're hoping they could kind of jog back this time. Nope. Every time you have to sprint back, touch the paint, match up, and then the offense can slow down. It's almost like sprint early, you can play slower after that.
Right.
And so my hope is that Westbrook brings some of that to Denver and has a natural predatory sense of, oh, they're tired? Not me. I'll get the ball up court. Let's all run, guys. I'm not getting an open shot. I'm just making you run back this time. Number 5, offensive rebounding. So I separated offensive and defensive rebounding here. He's a better defensive rebounder, but Denver doesn't necessarily need... Denver's a very good defensive rebounding team. I think number 1 in the NBA last several years. So they're good at that, but offensive rebounding, him, Christian Braun, like there's suddenly an influx of players who have a nose for this that'll, I think and hope, be in position to really go and hunt for those. And that's one thing where I think Denver over time has become more optimized in the half court, yet has cut out one of the things that used to be a weapon to them, offensive rebounding. I think he could, I'm not sure this one will hit, but I think he could bring some offensive rebounding, second chance points.
I think between him and CB, I do feel hopeful, confident that this will get a little bit better. And then if they wanted to, this is coaching, right? But is Porter encouraged to crash the glass more? Or is that maybe now just a role for Christian Braun,
Right.
But I think it should be a point of emphasis. It's also just the single most deflating thing, man, when you play a great postseason defensive possession and give him a second chance.
We got to go quick here. Defensive playmaking. He averaged 1.1 steals per game last year. That would have been 3rd amongst the Nuggets. He had 1.8 deflection. That also would have been 3rd, and that's per game. He played fewer minutes than most of the Nuggets last year, so I think that's something he can bring. It's a double-edged sword. Are you out of position a little bit? He gambles.
Yep.
But I just think Denver has Peyton Watson, who playmakes, Christian Braun, who does not, Aaron Gordon, who does not, Jokic, who gets steals. I think that there's room for, you're going to have a mix of guys. CB walls people off, stays in front of them. Westbrook gets the steal when the kick out comes, and it could work. Number 7, setting up Jokic for floaters, which we've talked about. I think that one's for sure. And then number 8 is defensive rebounding. While I don't think it's the most important thing he's bringing to the table because the Nuggets are good, it's always nice just to have extra guys. I think Denver's going to lead the league in defensive rebounding this year.
I love this, man. Rebounding is I actually just love this exercise altogether because I think rightfully touched on leadership and energy because, well, first of all, he hasn't played a minute yet for the Denver Nuggets.
And I'm telling you, it was a giant gaping hole in the Nuggets' team, and so it was the most necessary.
But there are other ones. Like it's not, I don't think Russ is necessarily like a square peg in a round hole with Denver. I mean, they did need someone who could get into the paint. They do need someone who rebounds. They do need someone who's a maniac. So I understand that it's like this has not worked, this Westbrook thing in the last couple of stops, but I just think Denver's a different situation.
Yeah. We have any super chats, Alyssa? No Seahawk today. All right. Everybody, we hope you enjoyed it. Guess what happens tomorrow? We have a pregame show at 9:30. We have a show, a Nuggets game to watch tomorrow at 10, and then a postgame show immediately after. Our first preseason postgame of the year.
Man, up and early, get that rakia out, put it in your coffee. Don't do that. Good God.
Don't have to do that.
You don't have to drink it all. But we'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
Hit that like button on the way out, everybody.
We all silly like the mayor.